What would the world look like today if Alexander's empire didn't disintegrate after his death? A question that has puzzled historians for centuries. At the peak of its glory, Alexander's empire was a force to be reckoned with, stretching from the azure coastlines of Greece to the golden sands of Egypt, and reaching as far as the exotic lands of India. It was a realm that was as diverse as it was vast, a melting pot of cultures, philosophies, and civilizations, all united under the gilded banner of one man, Alexander the Great. But in the year 323 BCE, the unthinkable happened. Alexander, the linchpin of this colossal empire, met with an untimely death. He was a mere 32 years old. His sudden demise sent shockwaves throughout the empire. A titan had fallen, and in his wake he left a power vacuum that would soon consume the lands he had once conquered. Enter the Diadochi, a group of Alexander's most trusted generals and advisors. These were men who had fought alongside Alexander, shared in his victories, and now, in the aftermath of his death, they found themselves vying for control of his empire. But with no clear successor to Alexander, the stage was set for a power struggle of epic proportions. The Diadochi, each a formidable leader in his own right, were not willing to bow down to anyone. They were ready to fight, to wage wars that would span over decades, for a chance to sit on the throne that Alexander had left vacant. And so the once united empire was divided, its people caught in the crossfire of ambition and power. As the dust settled on Alexander's grave, the empire he had built stood on the brink of chaos. The unity he had fought so hard to establish was beginning to crumble. His dream of a united world, it seemed, had died with him. What followed next was a series of wars that would decide the fate of the world's largest empire. The First Diadochi War, a struggle for power, erupted soon after Alexander's great passing. The world that Alexander had masterfully conquered was now a chessboard, and the pieces were his former generals, each with their own ambitions and strategies. The primary players in this grand game were Ptolemy, Perdiccas, Antigonus, and others. Each had been a close confidant of Alexander, and each now sought to claim a piece of the empire for himself. Ptolemy, a cunning and ambitious man, set his sights on Egypt. Perdiccas, the regent of the empire, held the reins but sought to solidify his power. Antigonus, known as the One-Eyed, eyed the vast territories of Asia Minor. The war was a complex dance of strategic moves, battles, alliances, betrayals, and shifting territories. Ptolemy made the first move, diverting Alexander's funeral procession to Egypt, a bold statement of his intentions. This act sparked the flames of war, with Perdiccas leading a failed campaign against Ptolemy. Antigonus, ever the opportunist, capitalized on Perdiccas's failure, rallying others to his cause. The alliances shifted like desert sands, and the empire that Alexander had built was fracturing. The major event of this war was the murder of Perdiccas. His failed campaign and apparent ambition had made him many enemies. His own officers, tired of his leadership, assassinated him, a shocking turn of events that changed the course of the war. With Perdiccas's death, Ptolemy rose in prominence. His strategic acumen and the wealth of Egypt behind him positioned him as a major power player. His influence would shape the future wars to come. The First Diadochi War was a turbulent start to a series of wars that would last for nearly half a century. It set the stage for the power struggles, betrayals, and shifting alliances that would define this period of history. The First War ended, but the thirst for power was far from quenched. The stage was set, the players were in position, and the game was only just beginning. The Second and Third Diadochi Wars were a relentless quest for domination. The cycle of alliances, betrayals, and epic battles that marked these conflicts reflected the deep-seated ambitions of Alexander's successors. The Second Diadochi War kicked off in 315 BC, with the key players being Cassander, Ptolemy, Lysimachus, and Seleucus. These men had one common enemy, Antigonus, who had become the dominant power after the First War. Antigonus, however, was not an easy foe to defeat. He was a seasoned general and a shrewd politician. A significant event in this war was the death of Eumenes. A former secretary to Alexander, Eumenes had become a skilled general in his own right. Despite his military prowess, he found himself on the wrong side of the war and was captured and executed by Antigonus. His death marked a turning point in the war, allowing Antigonus to consolidate his power further. In the midst of this chaos, a coalition was formed against Antigonus. Ptolemy, Seleucus, Lysimachus, and Cassander united their forces, each hoping to check Antigonus's growing power. The Third Diadochi War was a direct result of this coalition's efforts. The Third War was a drawn-out affair, with neither side gaining a decisive victory. Antigonus, however, managed to maintain his position at the top. His ability to hold on to power amid the tumult was a testament to his strategic acumen and tenacity. But even as Antigonus stood tall at the end of the Third War, the threats to his rule were far from over. His rivals, though defeated, were not destroyed. They still had their territories and armies. More importantly, they had their ambitions. Antigonus would have to continue fighting if he wanted to remain the most powerful of Alexander's successors. The Third War ended with Antigonus standing tall, but the threats to his rule were growing. As we'll see in the next scene, the final Diadochi Wars and their aftermath would bring about a new era of power struggles and territorial disputes. The fourth and final Diadochi War was the climax of this bloody power struggle. This epic conflict culminated in the Battle of Ipsus, a veritable clash of titans. The battlefield was strewn with the hopes and dreams of these once united generals, now turned bitter rivals. Among them was Antigonus, the one-eyed warrior whose ambition was as boundless as the empire they all sought to control. However, fate had a different plan. Antigonus, the mightiest among them, met his end on this battlefield, his dreams of empire dying with him. Following the dust and turmoil of the battle, the victors emerged, their eyes set on the prize that lay before them. The empire of Alexander the Great, an expanse that once stretched from Greece to Egypt and far into Asia, was now divided among three men. Ptolemy, the shrewd and cunning strategist, took control of Egypt, turning it into a powerhouse of wealth and culture. Seleucus, the loyal companion of Alexander, claimed the vast territories of Asia, laying the foundations of what would become the Seleucid Empire. Lysimachus, the quiet yet ambitious general, took control of Thrace and Asia Minor, establishing his rule with an iron fist. Yet, as the saying goes, nothing lasts forever. The same held true for the Diadochi dynasties. Over the years, they gradually declined, their once vast territories shrinking, their power waning. One by one they fell, their names fading into the annals of history. They were replaced by new powers, new dynasties, and new empires as the world moved on, relentless and unforgiving. The Diadochi Wars, a series of brutal conflicts that spanned over 40 years, left in their wake a changed world. The once mighty empire of Alexander the Great, which had stood as a testament to his unparalleled military genius and ambition, was now fragmented, divided among his former generals. The once mighty empire of Alexander was now just a memory. The Diadochi Wars marked the end of an era and the beginning of a new one. This cataclysmic series of conflicts arose from a power vacuum that plunged the vast empire of Alexander the Great into chaos. The sudden absence of a unifying force left Alexander's generals scrambling for control, their ambitions clashing in a deadly, decades-long struggle. The First Diadochi War saw the dawn of this turbulent period. As the dust of battle settled, Alexander's empire was divided among his most trusted generals, a fragile balance of power that would teeter on the brink of collapse for years to come. Yet, this division was not to last. The Second and Third Diadochi Wars further fractured the empire, as alliances shifted and territories changed hands, with Alexander's once loyal generals now bitter rivals. The major players in this Game of Thrones were larger-than-life figures, each with their own ambitions and destinies. Ptolemy, Seleucus, Cassander, and Antigonus. These men etched their names into the annals of history, their fates intertwined with the destiny of the empire itself. The final Diadochi Wars saw the last vestiges of Alexander's empire crumble. The once mighty empire, which stretched from Greece to Egypt and far into Asia, was now a patchwork of rival kingdoms. The aftermath of these wars had far-reaching effects, shaping the political and cultural landscape of the regions involved for centuries to come. These wars spawned new dynasties such as the Ptolemaic and Seleucid empires, which would leave their own indelible mark on history. They altered the course of world history, setting the stage for the rise of Rome and the eventual dominance of Western civilization. In many ways, the Diadochi Wars were a testament to the transient nature of power. They serve as a reminder that even the mightiest of empires can fall, and from their ashes, new powers will always rise. Thus, the empire of Alexander the Great, which once seemed invincible, was torn apart, reshaping the world as we know it. stretching from the azure coastlines of Greece to the golden sands of Egypt, and reaching as